watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen. In today's world news headlines, Tropical Storm Isaac threatens Gulf Coast in Katrina's 7th anniversary. Again, still going on. Arctic sea ice melts to lowest point as worst-case scenario appears real. And Greenpeace activists confront Russian oil drilling in Arctic. An Israeli judge clears military of 2003 killing of Rachel Corrie. And Syrian regime launches airstrikes around Damascus. And scores killed in Taliban attacks in Afghanistan. And no criminal charges for U.S. troops in Koran burning and urinating incidents. And Colombia to hold peace talks with the FARC rebels. And 4 U.S. soldiers charged with murder to conceal anti-government plot. And Maryland teen critically wounded in school shooting. And peace activist Sister Anne Montgomery dies at the age of 85. GVTV News is broadcast in Grass Valley Television, the division of Rural Counties Television Network, whose focus is on involvement in the community. We also air on NCTV, but before these stories, GVTV News, I'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, Tropical Storm Isaac is heading through the Gulf of Mexico, threatening to batter the Gulf Coast. In fact, it's already on its way through Mississippi. Federal officials expect the storm to develop into a Category 1, but I think it's a 2 already, and making landfall Wednesday, which it is. The storm will mark the most serious test in New Orleans' rebuilt levees in the 7 years since Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu said the city is preparing for the storm just as it marks Katrina's anniversary. He said, it is quite ironic that we have a hurricane that is threatening us on the 7th anniversary of Katrina. It's worth noting that this brings a high level of anxiety to the people in New Orleans. But I want to assure you all that there is nothing that this storm is going to bring us that we do not believe that we are not prepared to handle. And U.S. government scientists have disclosed sea ice in the Arctic Ocean has melted to its smallest size ever, potentially signaling the worst-case scenario of global warming is becoming a reality. National Snow and Ice Data Center of the NASA Space Agency says Arctic sea ice has dwindled to some 27,000 square miles, less than previous records set in 2007. Ice will likely continue to melt with several weeks of summer weather still to come. In a statement, government scientists said that melting of the Arctic sea ice is considered a strong signal of a long-term climate warming. Speaking at Agence France Press, Michael Mann, the author of the major 2001 report of climate change and director of the Earth Systems Science Center at Penn State University, said this is an example that points more to the worst-case scenario side of things. There are a number of areas where, in fact, climate change seems to be proceeding faster and with a greater magnitude than what the models predicted. Environmentalist group Greenpeace has begun disrupting efforts by the Russian state-owned energy giant Gazprom to drill for oil in the Arctic. In Monday, Greenpeace activists held up a ship ferrying workers to Gazprom's Arctic drilling site by attaching themselves to the ship's anchor chain. Gazprom is said to become the first company to produce Arctic oil through drilling operations in the Pechora Sea. And on Friday, 6 Greenpeace activists boarded Gazprom's main oil rig and occupied it for several hours. An Israeli judge has cleared Israel's military responsibility for killing the U.S. peace activist Rachel Corrie. 23-year-old college student Corrie was crushed to death by an Israeli army bulldozer in Gaza 9 years ago. She was standing in front of a Palestinian home to help prevent its demolition. Today, a ruling came in the wrongful death civil suit brought by Corrie's family, with the judge rejecting any negligence on the part of the driver and finding that Corrie's death resulted from an accident she brought upon herself. Corrie's family attorney, Hussein Abu Hussein, denounced the verdict and said this verdict distorts the strong evidence presented in court and contradicts fundamental principles of international law with regard to protection of human rights defenders. In denying justice to the Rachel Corrie killing, this verdict speaks to the systematic failure to hold the Israeli military accountable for continuing violations of basic human rights. The ruling follows an early internal Israeli army investigation that also exonerated the bulldoze drivers. The Corrie family was seeking a symbolic $1 in damages as well as legal fees. Syrian government has carried out a series of airstrikes around the capital of Damascus, reporting leading to dozens of deaths. Syrian activists say at least 60 people were killed in a series of bombings. Attacks come hours after a Syrian military helicopter crashed in Damascus after reportedly taking rebel fire. And in Afghanistan, Taliban has been accused of beheading 17 people in northwest Helmand province. The killings reportedly resulted either from the victims' attendance at a risque party or as punishment for being government informants. In a separate attack, Taliban fighters killed 10 Afghan soldiers. A rogue Afghan soldier was also killed. 2 U.S. troops, and latest in a string of attacks by members of the Afghan force on the NATO occupation. NATO spokesperson Gunter Katz said that about a quarter of such attacks can be traced back to the Taliban. He said, "We can clearly identify a direct insurgent connection to the attackers in about 10% of the cases. In the other 15% of the cases, we suspect the insurgent linked with the attacker. However, the tie cannot be definitely proven." Given these 2 points, our conclusion is that 25% of the attacks are on some manner related to the insurgency. The U.S. military has lightly reprimanded troops involved in incidents that sparked deadly unrest in Afghanistan earlier this year. Marines urinating on corpses and burning of copies of the Koran. On Monday, both the Army and the Marine Corps said their service members involved had received administrative punishments such as demotions or reductions in pay, but no criminal charges. The burning of the Koran at Bagram Air Base sparked violence that killed at least 6 U.S. soldiers and dozens of Afghans. Colombia government has announced plans to hold peace talks with the country's largest rebel group, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC. Speaking from the presidential palace, Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos said he would enter the talks mindful of seeking to avoid previous mistakes. And he said exploratory conversations have been held with the FARC to find an end to the conflict. I want to make it very clear to Colombians that the approaches that have been carried out and the ones that will happen in the future will be carried out within the framework based on these principles. We're going to learn from the mistakes made in the past so that they are not repeated. Second, any process must lead to the end of the conflict, not its prolongation. Third, operations and military presence will be maintained across the entire national territory. The negotiations are expected to be held in a different country, such as Cuba or Norway. Santos reportedly discussed the prospect of peace talks with Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez and former President Fidel Castro earlier this year. Following Santos' announcement, Colombia's second biggest guerrilla group, National Liberation Army, the ELN, also said it would be willing to engage in dialogue. And 4 U.S. soldiers have been charged with the killing of a former comrade and his girlfriend to help conceal the existence of militia they had formed to carry out anti-government attacks. Prosecutors in Georgia say the soldiers spent $87,000 on guns and bombing material for a plot to include taking over their base, Fort Stewart, bombing a dam, and poisoning the apple crop in Washington state, and ultimately overthrowing the government and assassinating President Obama. The soldiers called themselves FEAR, short for Forever Enduring, Always Ready. They were accused of killing former soldier Michael Rourke and his 17-year-old girlfriend, Tiffany York, last December in a bid to keep their plan secret. It is the most high-profile case to involve extremism in the U.S. military ranks since neo-Nazi Army veteran Wade Michael Page killed 6 worshippers in Oak Creek Sikh Temple in Wisconsin and critically wounded 3 others before being shot dead earlier this month. And a Maryland teenager was critically wounded on Monday in a shooting at a high school in Baltimore County. The shooter was reportedly a 15-year-old. Monday marks the school's first day of classes. The long-time peace activist Sister Ann Montgomery has died at the age of 85. Montgomery took part in a number of plowshare disarmament protests and spent more than 3 years in prison for taking part in anti-war civil disobedience. And that's for the world news today. Oh, that's it. Now, another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. John is an American. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't.
That's right, stand for the police blotter, and pictures in the blotter are not from these actual events but used for visual aid only. These public records are obtained from daily logs issued from Nevada County law enforcement. On Saturday, 12:11 a.m., a report was taken from 11,000 block of Highway 174 of a burglary with a computer stolen. At 12:50 a.m., a report was taken from Norleen and Tammy Ways of two women lying in a ditch who could not be located. 3:13 a.m., a report was taken from 11,000 block of Kawima Way of screaming and yelling and possible gunshots. 5:05 a.m., a report was taken from 11,000 block of Cedar Ridge Drive of crashing and banging and people with flashlights. A bear had come back. 7:22 a.m., a man from 19,000 block of Sivers Lane of there was a neighbor had trespassed and there was a verbal dispute. 10:59 a.m. a report was taken from Pascali and Red Dog Roads of a dog versus a bicyclist. And 10:49 a.m. a report was taken from 12,000 block of Blazing Star Road of a caller's son was cutting all candles in the residence, acting very unusual. At 11:41 a.m. a report was taken from Greenhorn Road and Timber Lane of a suspicious vehicle which was confirmed as stolen from Nevada City. And 12:11 p.m. a boy from 17,000 block of Penn Valley Drive said his mother hit him in the eye. And 12:21 p.m. a man reported possibly finding a body off North Bloomfield Road 3 months ago. Nothing was located. And 12:35 p.m. a man from 12,000 block of Poplar Road reported a house had been broken into and a car stolen in the last 2 months. At 12:41 p.m. a report was taken from 18,000 block of Wallace Drive of a rattlesnake. At 12:50 p.m. a report was taken from Weaver Lake of illegal fireworks. And 1:26 p.m. a report was taken from Highway 49 and Christian Lifeway of a vehicle hit a motorcycle. 8:27 p.m. a woman from 10,000 block of Hawk Lane of a man who threw a chair. No charges were desired. And 10:37 p.m. a report was taken from Flying T Road of 3 gunshots. And 11:13 p.m. a report was taken from 15,000 block of Tammy Way reporting a loud underage party. And 11:52 p.m. a report was taken from 13,000 block of Marina Drive of a loud party and an argument. Man was arrested on suspicion of violating probation. And on Sunday, 12:38 a.m. a report was taken from 15,000 block of Washington Road of a man walking around the campground naked. He could not be located. 7:39 a.m. report was taken from 23,000 block of Sun Terrace Court of a bobcat attacking a dog in a backyard. Pets were okay. And Nevada City Police Department on Friday, 9:04 a.m. a be on the lookout advisory was issued for a Toyota Corolla that was stolen from Cyril's Avenue. At 9:12 a.m. a report was taken from 400 block of Gold Flat Road of thefts from numerous vehicles. No thefts were found. Extra patrols were requested. At 9:55 p.m. a report was taken from Highway 20 and Urine Street of hearing gunshots and yelling. It was quiet when officers arrived. And Saturday, 12:01 a.m. a report was taken from 200 block of Commercial Street of a physical fight. And 6:38 p.m. a report was taken 200 block of Commercial Street of a man with a guitar yelling and singing at an undesirable decibel level. He was advised of a warrant. And Sunday, 2:40 a.m. a report was taken from 200 block of Sacramento Street of a theft. And that's it today for the blotter. Now another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it is us, GVTV News. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Like desserts, They got him. You like international style lunches? They got him. Christopher's Deli and catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. In today's local news headlines, traffic stop nabs illegal drugs, and baby bobcat Chips rescued from Chips fire. In our first story, last Sunday, 2 locals were pulled over for expired tags, and both men were on probation. They were searched and allegedly drugs were found. Travis Lee Pate, 32, of Nevada City, was driving in a red minivan northbound on Highway 49 near Empire Street off-ramp when a Nevada County Sheriff deputy pulled over their car when he noticed expired tags. One of the men, identified as Adam Lloyd Beck, 28, of Sacramento, was in the back of the car lying down, not wearing a seatbelt. Deputy reportedly knew that both men were on probation with search terms. Beck was searched, and the deputies allegedly found small bags in his wallet with the words that said "Stay High" stamped on them. He also allegedly had white powder that was later tested as cocaine. Officers searching the car found some meth and spoon and other items used in type of alleged drug use. Pate allegedly admitted that the meth was his. Beck was arrested on suspicion of possessing a controlled substance, possessing cocaine for sale, and violating probation, and was being held without bail. Pate was arrested on suspicion of possessing controlled substance and drug paraphernalia and was being held in lieu of $11,000 bail. In a story written by Laura Pearson, while conducting patrols in a mop-up operation on the north end of Chips Fire Saturday, August 25th, the Mad River Hand crew encountered a remarkable sight, a baby bobcat. It was found wandering along the side of the road, alone and dazed. It seemed to be confused, said Tad Hare, the Mad River Hand crew superintendent who spotted the kit. According to the Hare, it was the size of a domestic kitten and seemed to have impaired vision, perhaps from the smoke and the ash in its eyes. It was walking in circles near a stump, said Hare. Once they verified that there was an obvious physical injury on the kit, the crew attempted to walk away, but she swiftly followed the sounds of their movement. Each time the crew would stop, she would curl up on Hare's boots, snuggle into his chaps. Hare and his crew members searched a large area, but there was no tracks whatsoever in the ash except for the little gals, and they found no sign of mother bobcat. The lone kit, so young and its eyes appeared to be just starting to open, seemed abandoned and lost in the aftermath of Chips Fire. According to the National Geographic, bobcats live in solitary life, and females will typically choose a den that is secluded in order to raise 1 to 6 kits, teaching them to hunt for up to 12 months before leaving them to survive on their own. I couldn't just leave him there, said Hare, who chose to name the kit Chips, after the fire in which she was found. After contacting Fire Communications, Hare brought Chips to the Incident Command Post to await contact with appropriate parties. Charles Buzz Smith, Incident Communications Manager, contacted the Plumas County Sheriff's Office and the Department of Fish and Games. It was suggested that he contact Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care, the LTWC. Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care is a nonprofit organization run by volunteers whose function is to raise, rehabilitate, and release orphaned and injured wild birds and animals. The organization is operating under permits authorized by the U.S. Department of Interior and Wildlife Services, as well as California Fish and Game. There are no fees associated with the acceptance and care of animals, nor is any animal refused care, according to Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care. A call was made to the LTWC, and while awaiting their arrival, the public information staff cared for Chips, giving her a couple of ice chips, an enormous amount of tender, loving care. Within 45 minutes of calling the number of their website, Anna Thompson, a professor of biology at Feather River College and a volunteer for LTWC, responded to the Chips Fire Incident Command Post along with her family. They, along with public information staff, fed Chips a few pipets full of special kit formula called KMR, which she eagerly devoured. Responding well to the formula, Chips was energetic and curious as they placed her carefully into a carrier. Ready for transport, Thompson assured the public information staff that Chips was in good hands. They transported Chips to a fire station, who transported Chips the rest of the way to the LTWC, where professionals experienced in the care of bobcats examined her and treated her injuries. The executive director and co-founder of Lake Tahoe Wildlife Care, Cheryl Milham, said that the Chip is doing great. The firefighter who helped to transport Chip flushed her eyes while en route to the shelter. Once she arrived at the shelter, veterans took over and flushing her eyes again and added medicated ointment, which is reapplied 3 times a day. We're optimistic that once the infection is clear, Chips will regain full vision of both eyes. She further explained that Chips had second-degree burns on all her paws, so the veterinarian cleaned off the dead tissue and carefully treated and wrapped her tender paws. Until her feet are fully healed, she rests on very soft bed, is fed 6 pulverized mice per day, plus additional KMR formula if the mice do not sat her appetite. According to Milham, keep Chip's paws dry, loose during the healing process will give her a spit bath upon feeding, consisting of moist, warm cloth that they use to gently rub her fur while she eats. Then she contentedly returns to sleep. Next step in the process, Milham, is to ensure that Chips is exposed to other bobcats in order to learn appropriate behaviors. Because she is so very young, she will be sheltered throughout the winter along with other bobcats. When the staff deemed it appropriate, Chips will be released back into the wild in an area where it is determined that food sources are abundant. When advised of Chips' well-being, Hare said he was grateful and would love to be involved in her eventual reintroduction into the wild whenever that may be. Chips will forever weigh on the hearts of those whose lives she touched during the Chips fire. And that's it today. And have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday. That's it for local news today. We would like to thank Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, Ubinet, Sierra Foothills Report, the Union, local law enforcement, and others for the sourcing of our news, and you for watching. Remember, we are the only visual video news media in Nevada County, and we are free for you to watch 7 days a week. If you have local stories and would like to have them aired on our news, please email us with the story to 750 words, and if you have pictures, please include them in the email to grassvalleytelevision@gmail.com. Please include some type of contact information for verification of facts. You can watch this broadcast on Comcast Cable, NCTV, Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m., Saturday, and 8 p.m. Sunday, and Suddenlink Channel 16 in Truckee and Alta-Sierra, same times. We also are streamed on the internet, NCTV's Digital Media Center website at nevadacountytv.org and our website, gvtv.org. And don't forget Grass Valley Television, that plays 24/7 on the net, grassvalleytelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, blip.tv, and many other sites, and have RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under Video Podcast for GVTV News. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County. If you have a need for video, you can contact us for more info at grassvalleytelevision@gmail.com or 530-362-8889. This show produced by Grass Valley Television of Rural Counties Television Network. We hope you will stay tuned to us for this next season, as we're going to spice up the news in the future. You can always email us ideas and comments, and if you like us on Facebook, we like that. News Player can be embedded on your site, or you can go to our sites, which we had already mentioned. Due to the lack of underwriters this year, we will be doing 3 shows a week, playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday editions. We should be expanding when we get more community support. Grass Valley Television works hard to bring you news and entertainment from around the world and local content you do not get on mainstream media. We want to expand and improve what you see, and we need your help. If you support this program and want to